I want you to imagine something for a second. You've just graduated from college.
Right, the big milestone.
Exactly. You've spent the last 4, maybe 5 years pulling all-nighters, racking up all this debt, basically doing everything society told you to do.
Following the script.
Following the script, yeah. But now you are facing a brutally tough job market. I mean, you feel completely lost. You're overwhelmed by the expectations of your parents, your friends, and, your own inner critic.
Oh, absolutely. It's crushing.
So you decide to go to a career counselor, hoping for some strategic advice, maybe tweak the resume a bit.
Just a little fine-tuning.
Right. But instead, this counselor looks you dead in the eye and tells you to just stop looking for a job.
Wait, what?
Yeah. They tell you to give up on dating, to move into a thatched hut, and, hey, maybe even start begging on the street.
Okay, that sounds like a surreal comedy sketch, or at the very least, a fast track to getting a career counselor fired immediately.
It really sounds like a joke, but it is the literal prescription of this viral essay we're looking at today.
Yeah.
It was translated and edited by Yu, originally written back in April 2023 by an author named Shufeng.
Right.
And it's titled The Splendid Path of Unemployed College Students. And I have to say, it is entirely serious.
It really is.
So today, we are doing a deep dive into his manifesto.
Yeah.
We're going to unpack how this radically unconventional survival guide completely flips the script on, our conventional ideas of success, wealth, and what it actually means to participate in society as an educated young adult.
Yeah, and the thing is, the author takes the emotional reality of his audience incredibly seriously. Like, this isn't some satirical piece mocking Gen Z or whatever.
Right at all.
It's this genuine, highly empathetic letter aimed directly at a generation experiencing profound disillusionment. He speaks directly to you, the reader, acknowledging that you might be in a state of confusion, anxiety, disappointment.
He's very validating right off the bat.
Exactly. But his very first move, and this is key, is to sever that modern narrative of extreme individual responsibility. He tells you that your failure to find a job is not your fault. It's not your parents' fault, nor the fault of your professors.
He calls it the fault of the times.
Yeah.
Which, that is such a massive departure from the usual grind set advice we're just bombarded with today.
Oh, the hustle culture stuff.
Yeah, usually the message is, well, if you're unemployed, you just aren't hustling hard enough, right?
You need to wake up at 4 a.m. and take an ice bath.
Right. Optimize your LinkedIn profile. Network harder.
Yeah.
The modern narrative demands that you take total ownership of systemic failures.
It's exhausting.
It is. But Zhu uses this really beautiful analogy to dismantle that. He says, just like blooming flowers wither in the spring, it is not the fault of the flowers, but the result of a cold spell.
A cold spell. I love that metaphor because it completely reframes the psychological burden of unemployment.
How so?
Well, think about it. If you're a flower caught in a sudden, unseasonal freeze, trying to bloom harder isn't going to save you.
Right, you can't out-hustle a blizzard.
Exactly. In fact, expending that extra energy might actually kill you faster. The weather has simply turned hostile. Recognizing this is the crucial first step in his diagnosis. Because if the environment itself is frozen, the worst thing you can do is continue acting like it's a sunny spring day.
And this leads right into his blistering condemnation of what we could broadly call modern success studies.
The self-help books, the startup podcasts.
Yeah, the seminars on how to make a comeback or achieve financial freedom or start a business. The author explicitly labels these conventional motivations as poison.
Poison? That's a strong word.
It is, but thinking about the cold spill, it makes total sense. Chasing modern success in the middle of a massive economic freeze is like, to offer my own analogy here, it's like drinking salt water when you're stranded at sea.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Because your body is desperately telling you that you need water, and the ocean looks exactly like what you need.
Right, it's right there.
But drinking it doesn't hydrate you. The salt actually accelerates your dehydration and your demise.
Yeah, the pursuit of conventional success in an unyielding environment breeds a really unique kind of psychological agony. The text refers to this constant striving and failing as being trapped in a sea of suffering.
Wow.
Yeah. If you drink the salt water, if you try to catch up with the tide, strive for superiority, or want a life that others envy, you are guaranteeing your own misery. You won't even be able to see the shore, let alone reach it, because you're exhausting yourself fighting a current you literally cannot control.
Okay, so I have to ask, if ambition is the salt water poisoning us, How do we detox? Like, we shouldn't try to succeed. What exactly is the antidote? Because he doesn't just suggest taking a gap year or finding a hobby to take the edge
No,
off.
no, he goes way further. He
Yeah.
prescribes an extreme form of physical and social asceticism. The antidote to the poison of ambition is to become a blade of grass.
The blade of grass.
Yeah.
Okay, unpack that for me.
He advocates for lowering your material desires to the absolute minimum. We are talking about extreme material minimalism with literal instructions.
Like a thatched hut.
Exactly. Live in a thatched hut, wear patched clothes, eat simple food like plain buns and pickled vegetables, and drink plain water.
Plain water?
You must refuse all luxury goods. The author even states that, if necessary, begging is a valid option.
Begging.
Yeah, because a blade of grass doesn't strive to be the tallest tree in the forest, it just exists. It gets stepped on, it blends in, it survives perfectly by being utterly unremarkable.
I want to pause on the mechanics of this, because it's so easy to just live in a hut, and write the whole thing off as crazy.
Sure, it sounds radical.
But let's look at how this actually dismantles anxiety. Because the author also dictates strict social isolation, right?
He does. He explicitly says, do not pursue romantic relationships, do not get married, and do not start a family.
Which is wild. Telling a modern 20-something to abandon love and swear off having a family sounds less like career advice and more like a vow of monasticism.
It really does sound like taking holy orders.
But mechanically it makes sense. If you swear off dating,
Yeah.
you don't need the status markers that attract a partner.
Right.
If you refuse to have a family, you don't need a high-paying salary to provide for them. You don't need a mortgage.
You are systematically starving the anxiety of its fuel.
Yes.
The student is drowning under the crushing weight of societal expectations. So by intentionally dropping to the absolute bottom of those expectations, by becoming that unremarkable blade of grass, you eliminate the pressure entirely.
Because you can't fall behind if you're already at the back.
Exactly. You cannot fear falling behind if you have already deliberately chosen the absolute bottom. The text emphasizes that you must concentrate your efforts on establishing this baseline foundation first.
Establish your roots.
Right. He writes, once your roots establish yourself, the way will grow therefrom and the way will guide you. You have to clear away all the noise of romance, ambition, and luxury so you can actually hear your own existence without the filter of societal judgment.
So it's really about making yourself functionally invulnerable.
Invulnerable, yes.
Because the economy can't hurt you if you don't want money. Social judgment can't hurt you if you proudly wear patched clothes and actively refuse to play the status game.
You're untouchable.
But practically speaking, this brings up a huge logistical challenge.
What's that?
Well, if you aren't driven by money, or climbing a career ladder, or providing for a family, what actually gets you out of bed in your thatched hut every morning?
Ah, the motivation question.
Yeah. I mean, sitting in an empty hut eating plain buns sounds like a fast track to severe depression if there isn't some profound driving force behind it.
That's a really valid point. But the author doesn't leave you hanging. He provides a very robust spiritual framework to sustain this ascetic lifestyle. It's not about sitting in the dark and doing nothing.
Okay.
You are meant to be highly active, but your focus is entirely redirected. He essentially creates a what we could call a spiritual board of directors for the unemployed student to follow.
Spiritual board of directors. That is a very corporate framework for a survival guide about living in a hut. Who exactly is he appointing to this board?
It's quite a lineup. The text instructs the reader to listen to the teachings of Jesus Christ, respect the Dharma of Shakyamuni Buddha, embrace the spirit of the Prophet Muhammad, and adopt the thoughts of the Taoist Saint Laozi.
Wow. That is a fascinating syncretism.
It really is.
He's pulling from Christianity, Buddhism, Islam, and Taoism all at once. What do all these figures even have in common in the context of surviving a brutal modern economy?
Well, if you look closely, they all represent profound historical challenges to the materialist status quo.
Okay, break that down for me.
Sure. Jesus models the rejection of material wealth in favor of spiritual purity and serving the marginalized, right?
Yeah.
Buddha represents the conscious choice to abandon a life of royal luxury to escape the cycle of suffering caused by attachment and desire.
Makes sense.
Muhammad embodies the spirit of community responsibility and charity over individual hoarding. And Laduzi provides the blueprint for flowing like water, finding power in humility, and embracing the natural order over artificial human striving.
So he's utilizing their combined weight to validate this incredibly sweeping goal.
Exactly. A utopian goal. He lays it out directly, telling the reader to dedicate themselves to unifying the world and ensuring the well-being of all people.
He actually writes, and this line stuck with me, strive to make everyone possess everything while having nothing, and work hard to provide everyone with a means of livelihood.
It's a powerful statement.
It is, but possess everything while having nothing. That is a classic paradox. How do you possess everything by owning a thatched hut and patched clothes?
Well, when you remove the boundaries of personal ownership, the anxiety of loss disappears.
Oh, I see.
If you don't own the landscape, but you are free to walk through it and appreciate it as a blade of grass, you functionally possess the experience of the world without the burden of maintaining it or defending it from others.
That's a beautiful way to look at it.
And the engine for achieving this utopian goal, the way you actually spend your days bridging the gap between spiritual asceticism and practical survival, is through relentless physical labor.
Right, because the asceticism here isn't about idleness or just medicating all day long.
Not at all.
The essay exhibits this absolute veneration of the working class. It states that labor is the foremost necessity of life.
The absolute core.
The text instructs the reader to adhere to the principle that the image of laborers is the most beautiful, that labor is the source of joy and happiness, and that laborers possess the finest qualities.
He doesn't mince words.
Now, the instructions are intense. He says, engage in diligent work every day, create, and never allow yourself to be idle.
Think about the psychological friction a college graduate would face trying to implement this.
Oh, it would be massive.
Because a university student is conditioned for cognitive load, they are trained to sit in lectures, manipulate spreadsheets, perform intellectual gymnastics. Their brains are always on,
Yeah.
constantly anticipating the next deadline or performance review.
Yeah, always strategizing.
But the author is telling them to abandon that entirely. He says you must abandon laziness, abandon getting something for nothing, and abandon seeking quick gains.
He is basically asking for a total class realignment.
Total.
Because a college degree, it was supposed to be the ticket out of manual labor. It was the golden key to white-collar comfort in air-conditioned offices.
That was the promise, yeah.
But the author says you must actively distance yourself from money, power, fame, and profit. You have to distance yourself from the wealthy and influential, and instead get as close as possible to the most ordinary, common, laboring masses. You are basically trading the Excel spreadsheet for a shovel.
And the physical toll of that is obvious, but the mental relief is the hidden mechanism here.
Mental relief.
Yeah.
From shoveling dirt.
Yes. Because manual labor has a clear start, a clear end, and a tangible output. You dig a hole, the hole is there.
Right.
You patch a shirt, the shirt is wearable. There is no ambiguous performance review for a patched shirt.
That's so true.
When labor is divorced from the anxious pursuit of wealth, or corporate ladder climbing, or office politics, it ceases to be a psychological burden. It becomes a moving meditation.
Wow.
It grounds you in the physical reality of the present moment, which is exactly how you survive the abstract conceptual anxiety of the cold spell.
That is such a massive paradigm shift. I mean, think about the era we live in right now. We are totally obsessed with the idea of passive income.
Oh, absolutely. It's everywhere.
The mantra on every business blog is, work smart, not hard. You want leverage. We want our money to work for us so we could just sit on a beach and do nothing.
The ultimate dream, apparently.
Right. But this text demands the exact opposite. It demands that you work incredibly hard, manually, every single day, for zero financial gain, solely to serve others and ground yourself.
It flips the script entirely.
It does. And it makes you wonder, is there a hidden freedom in giving up the pursuit of leverage? Like when you stop trying to game the system to get ahead, do you finally find peace? Because the game can no longer leverage you.
Exactly. You step off the game board entirely. But, surviving like that requires a total rewiring of how you view the world.
Because you can't half-step this.
No, you can't just dabble in this thatched hut lifestyle on the weekends while sending out resumes on Monday.
Right, right.
The author argues you have to adopt a philosophy of pure, aggressive contrarianism rooted in Taoism. He quotes a specific overarching rule. Reversion is the action of the Tao.
Reversion is the action of the Tao, meaning like returning to the source or moving in the exact opposite direction of the prevailing force.
Yes.
So he turns this ancient philosophical concept into a highly actionable, almost militaristic playbook for the unemployed graduate. He basically says, look at what the masses are doing and run the other way.
The instructions are incredibly explicit here. He writes, when the majority moves west, quickly move east. When the majority flock to the cities, quickly go to the countryside. When the majority prioritizes pragmatism, quickly prioritize ideology, whatever the majority criticize, quickly sing its praises, and vice versa.
It's so absolute.
He is calling for an ultimate reversal of all perspectives on life, values, worldview, and moral outlook that human society has established.
Okay, I have to push back on this a little bit
Go for it.
because there is a glaring logical paradox here, I think.
Which is,
If your entire life strategy is just doing the exact opposite of whatever the crowd is doing, are you actually a free thinker? Or are you still letting the crowd dictate your actions, just in reverse?
I see what you mean.
Like if the crowd moves west and I'm forced to move east solely because they moved west, I'm still reacting to them. The crowd is still pulling my strings. I'm not really choosing my own path. I'm just playing the mirror image of their game.
That is the classic trap of contrarianism, and it's a very fair critique. But I think in the context of this specific essay, this isn't about, teenage rebellion or being edgy just for the sake of being different.
Okay.
It is a systematic, necessary method to break the deeply ingrained mental conditioning that caused your anxiety in the first place.
Breaking the conditioning.
Right. You have been conditioned for 20+ years to believe that city life, wealth, status, and marriage are the only valid markers of a successful human existence. You can't just lightly tweak those beliefs.
You can't just downsize a little.
Exactly. A slight pivot like deciding you want a slightly smaller corner office doesn't free you from the mental prison of corporate ambition.
So you have to violently invert the belief to break its hold over your psyche.
Yes, you take a sledgehammer to the conditioning.
So if you are terrified of poverty, you don't just tolerate poverty. You actively seek out the thatched hut.
Exactly.
If you're terrified of being a nobody, you don't just accept being average. You actively strive to be an invisible blade of grass. You have to want the dirt.
Exactly that kind of violent inversion. Because if the established views of society have led to a world where millions of bright, educated young people are drowning in a sea of bitterness, feeling completely worthless because of an economic freeze they didn't create.
Then the views are the problem.
Right. Those established views are fundamentally toxic. The author's argument is that the only logical response to a toxic system is to reject its premises entirely and build your foundation in the absolute opposite direction.
And if you do this, if you embrace the thatched hut, swear off romance, perform manual labor, listen to the spiritual board of directors, and invert every societal expectation you were raised with, what is the ultimate payoff? Like, what does he promise at the end of all this?
He promises a profound psychological reward. After all the talk of withering flowers and the cold spell at the beginning of the essay, he uses this really beautiful poetic line to describe the destination.
What is it?
He says that if you reverse these perspectives, then you will discover the scenery of, just as the weary traveler despairs of finding a road, lo, a village appears and the shade of willows and riotous flowers beckon.
Oh, wow. The new village appears. You finally find new flowers blooming because you changed your entire reality.
You stopped waiting for the cold spell to end.
And you just walked into a different climate altogether.
Exactly. And he concludes the essay by putting the agency completely back in the reader's hands. He basically says, the path has been paved for you. If you find my words reasonable, follow the path. If you think I'm talking nonsense, continue the path you believe to be correct.
Leaving it entirely up to you.
Yeah. It brings our exploration full circle, really. We started with overwhelmed, unemployed graduates sitting in a counselor's office blaming themselves for the failures of the modern economy.
Right.
And we've walked through a radical manifesto that offers them a brutal but fascinating way out. It's a complete deconstruction of the modern ego. It is a wild, thought-provoking ride. And I think it's important to remember the underlying appeal of this text for you, the listener.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. You probably aren't going to cancel your internet, move into a hut, and swear off romance after listening to this deep dive.
Highly unlikely.
But there is a profound reason this kind of radical philosophy resonates so deeply right now. The fantasy of simply opting out, of just throwing your hands up and saying, I refuse to play this exhausting game anymore, is universally relatable.
Oh, totally.
The relentless pressure to optimize your life, to monetize your hobbies, to succeed against increasingly impossible economic odds, it's draining. We all feel the chill of the cold spill.
We do, and the essay articulates a powerful, uncomfortable truth. Sometimes the system is so fundamentally rigged or broken that the only way to win is to refuse to play.
It's like a philosophical permission slip.
Yes. You are allowed to stop struggling against the tide. You are allowed to find inherent value in simply existing, laboring, and being an ordinary part of nature rather than a master of the universe.
Which leaves us with a final provocative thought to mull over, one that extends well beyond Wei Feng's essay. Think about the massive systems of power in our world today.
The big machines.
Yeah, the corporate ladders, the consumer economy, the housing markets, the algorithms that drive our attention. They all fundamentally rely on our collective anxiety. They run on our desperate desire for conventional success.
They need us to want it.
They need us to want the luxury goods. They need us to fear falling behind our peers. They need us to desperately want the promotion. So, if an entire generation of educated youth actually took this advice,
Oh, man.
if millions of people collectively decided to become blades of grass, refusing to consume, refusing to climb, refusing to participate in the economic status game, what would happen to those systems of power?
They would collapse under their own weight.
Exactly. Does true power ultimately lie not in reaching the top of the pyramid, but in simply refusing to be a brick at the bottom? Something to think about the next time you picture yourself stressing over a resume, wondering if maybe, just maybe, that thatched hut doesn't sound so bad after all.